My name is Amelia. I am 25 years old now, but this story is from many years ago. It is not a happy story, but it is my story. I want to tell it because maybe someone like me needs to hear it. I grew up in a small town near the mountains. The winters were cold with snow on the trees and ice on the roads. In spring, flowers grew everywhere, and the wind smelled sweet. Our house was small but warm. It had one floor, two bedrooms, and a tiny kitchen. It was full of love. My parents were Julia and Mark. My mother worked in a bakery every morning. She made bread, cakes, and cookies. She always came home smelling like sugar. My father fixed cars. His hands were rough, but his hugs were soft. They were simple people with kind hearts. I always thought I was their daughter. No one told me anything different. I never asked questions. I looked like them. My hair was brown, like my mother's. My eyes were blue, like my father's. We laughed together, played games, and had dinner every evening at the same table. I had toys, books, and warm clothes. My room had a soft bed with blue blankets. My mother sang songs for me when I was sick. My father read bedtime stories every night. He called me sunshine and kissed my forehead before I slept. On weekends, we went to the park or walked by the river. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had joy. We had movie nights with popcorn. We had pancakes on Sundays. I thought my life was perfect. I thought every child lived like me. I never knew anything was different about me. I never wondered why there were no baby pictures of me in the house. I never asked why my parents looked a little older than the parents of other children at school. But everything changed when I turned 13. It was a cold afternoon in November. The sky was gray and the wind was loud. I was in my room doing homework. My aunt, Lisa, came to visit. She was my father's sister. She had a loud voice and talked a lot. She and my mother were in the kitchen drinking tea. I came downstairs to get some water. I stopped near the kitchen door. I didn't mean to listen, but I heard my name. Lisa said, "Amelia doesn't know she's adopted." My heart started to beat fast. My mother said, "No, not yet. We want to wait. She's already 13. My aunt said she will find out one day. My hands were shaking. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I stood there and listened. She came from a woman in the city. Lisa said her birther gave her away. Julia and Mark raised her like their own. I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. I ran upstairs to my room. I closed the door. I sat on my bed. I stared at the wall. I cried. I cried a lot that night. I didn't sleep. My pillow was wet with tears. I didn't want to see my parents in the morning, but when the sun came up, I went to the kitchen like always. My mother was making toast. My father was reading the newspaper. They looked normal, but I felt different. I looked at my mother and asked, "Am I adopted?" She turned around and looked at me. Her eyes were soft. She said, "Yes, sweetheart, you are, but we love you more than anything." My heart broke. "You lied to me," I said. "You are not my real parents." My father put the paper down. He didn't get angry. He looked sad. He walked over to me and put his hand on my shoulder. "We didn't want to hurt you," he said. "We were going to tell you one day, but we didn't know when. I want to find my real parents," I said. I want to go. My mother went to my room and packed a small bag. She put in my clothes, a scarf, a jacket, and some food. My father gave me a little money. They didn't try to stop me. They didn't say I couldn't leave, but their eyes were full of sadness. I didn't say thank you. I was angry. I walked out of the house. I didn't know exactly where to go, but I remembered something my aunt said years ago. My birth parents lived in a nearby city called Hillview. It was 2 hours away by bus. I walked to the bus stop. The cold wind blew on my face. I sat on a bench and waited. I felt scared, but also angry. I didn't want to go back when the bus came. I gave the driver the money and sat near the window. Trees passed by, buildings passed by. My heart felt heavy, like a big rock inside me. When I got off the bus, I walked to the address I had in my notebook. I had written it down once when I overheard my aunt talking. I didn't know if it was still correct. The houses looked old and small. I walked slowly, holding my bag tight. When I found the house, I stood in front of the door for a long time. Then I knocked. A woman opened the door. She had gray in her hair. Her face looked tired. She looked at me with small eyes. She didn't say anything. Then a man came. His face was thin and his shirt had a hole in it. He looked at me for a moment. Amelia, he asked. Yes, I said. I think I'm your daughter. He didn't smile. He didn't reach out his hands. He didn't look happy. Another person came to the door. A teenage boy. He was older than me. He looked angry. Why are you here? He said, we don't have room. We don't have food for more people. I looked at the man again. My birth father, he said. Life is hard here. We are poor. My wife is not kind. We don't have space. I'm sorry. Amelia, I can't help you. I felt like someone had hit me in the chest. I wanted to cry, but I held it in. My voice was stuck. My legs felt weak. I turned around and walked away. No one stopped me. No one called my name. No one asked me if I had eaten or where I would sleep. I walked until I found a bench near the river. The water was dark. The air was cold. I sat there with my small bag. I felt alone. I felt empty. I thought maybe no one wants me. Maybe no one really loves me. I looked at the water. I thought maybe if I jump in, everything will stop. The pain will go away, the cold, the sadness, the hurt. But something inside my heart said, don't do it. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking. I sent a message to my adoptive mother. Please help me. I want to come home. If you don't help me, I will jump into the river. I sat there. My heart was racing. I looked at the phone again and again. 10 minutes passed, then 20. I started to cry. I thought they didn't care. Then the phone made a sound. A message came. We will send the money now. Please wait. Please don't do anything bad. We love you. Please come home. I cried harder. I felt something warm in my heart, a little bit of hope. Before I share the rest of my story, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from? It gives me strength to know someone is hearing my words, someone who understands me. Please tell me in the comments. I would really love to know. I waited at the bench by the river. The wind was cold and the sky was dark. My fingers felt frozen, but I kept holding my phone. I kept reading the message from my adoptive mother again and again. We will send the money now. Please wait. Please don't do anything bad. We love you. Please come home. That message gave me hope. It was a small hope, but it was enough. I waited for 2 more hours. My feet were hurting. My stomach was empty. I had not eaten anything since morning, but I didn't care. I just waited for the money to arrive. When I got the message from the bank, I stood up and walked to the nearest bus station. I had just enough money for 1 ticket. I bought it and sat down to wait for the next bus. The woman at the counter gave me a small smile. She asked if I was okay, but I didn't answer when the bus came. I sat by the window again. It was night now. The roads were quiet. The bus moved slowly. I looked outside, but I didn't see anything. I was thinking about my parents, Julia and Mark. I was thinking about their faces when I shouted at them. I was thinking about how I left the house without saying goodbye. I reached my town around midnight. It was cold and quiet. No cars, no people. Just dark streets and empty sidewalks. I walked to the house. I stood outside for a minute. The light was on in the living room. I took a deep breath and opened the door. My mother was sitting on the couch. My father was by the window. When they saw me, they didn't ask anything. They didn't shout. My mother stood up and walked to me. She hugged me tightly. My father took my bag from my hand. He put it on the floor and touched my shoulder. They didn't say a word. I didn't say anything either. We just stood there. Then my mother said, "Come sit down. You must be cold." She brought me a warm blanket. My father made tea. They gave me food, hot soup and bread. I didn't talk. I just ate slowly. They sat near me and waited. After eating, I went to my room. Everything looked the same. My bed, my books, my blue blanket. It was like I never left, but I felt different. I lay down and looked at the ceiling. I didn't sleep. I thought about everything. I thought about my birth parents. I thought about the cold house. I thought about my angry brother. I remembered their faces. They didn't smile. They didn't want me then. I thought about my real life, my real parents, the ones who raised me, the ones who stayed awake waiting for my message, the ones who sent money without asking questions. I felt sorry. I felt ashamed. I felt pain in my chest like a heavy stone. In the morning, my mother came into my room. She had a cup of tea in her hands. She didn't say anything. She put the cup near my bed and sat beside me. Her hands were warm. She looked at me. I looked at her. I whispered, "I'm sorry." She touched my hair gently. "You are our daughter," she said, "forever." I started to cry. I cried like a child. She didn't stop me. She just held me close. "Why didn't you tell me the truth?" I asked. "We wanted to tell you when you were older," she said. "We were afraid. We didn't want to lose you. We didn't want to hurt you." I was quiet, but in my heart, I understood. They were not perfect, but their love was real. They gave me everything they could. They didn't carry me in the womb, but they carried me in their hearts. That day my father came home from work early. He brought flowers. He smiled when he saw me. "Welcome home, princess," he said. That word princess made me cry again. He used to call me that when I was little. I remembered the games we played, the times he pushed me on the swing, the times he fixed my bike. I knew then that I was truly loved. Days passed slowly. My parents didn't ask me anything. They didn't talk about what happened. They just treated me with care. I helped my mother in the kitchen. We baked cookies together. I cleaned the living room. I folded my clothes. I started going to school. Again, my teachers were happy to see me. My friends asked, "Where were you?" But I didn't tell them the full story. I said, "I was not feeling well. This story was mine. This pain was mine, and this love was also mine." One evening, I was helping my mother wash dishes. I looked at her and asked, "Can I call you Mom again?" She stopped and looked at me, her eyes filled with tears. "You never stopped calling me Mom," she said. "Even when you were gone, you were still my daughter." After that, something changed in the house. The air felt warm again. The silence was softer. The rooms felt full. Again, we didn't talk about the river. We didn't talk about the house I visited. We didn't talk about the angry words or the tears. We just looked forward. We went to the market together. My father fixed the lamp in my room. My mother bought my favorite cereal. We watched a funny movie and laughed. One Saturday, we made a big breakfast: pancakes, eggs, juice, and fruit. My mother said, "Let's make this a new Saturday rule." I smiled. I liked that. At school, I started to smile more. I did my homework. I joined a book club. I read stories about girls who were lost and found, and I felt like those stories were about me. I knew I would never forget what happened. I would never forget the day I left or the night by the river, but I also knew that I had come back. I had come home. My parents never said, "We told you so." They didn't blame me. They just loved me, and that love was stronger than blood. That love was stronger than pain. One day, my father was fixing the car, and I sat near him. He gave me a small tool and said, "Want to help?" I laughed. "I don't know how you'll learn," he said. "One day you'll know more than me." I looked at him and smiled. I felt proud. That evening, my mother gave me an old photo album. Inside were pictures of me, small, laughing, sleeping, playing. "You are part of every memory," she said. "You've always been here." I turned the pages. I saw my baby pictures. I saw birthdays, holidays, snowmen, beach trips. I saw love in every photo. That night, I slept well for the first time in weeks. My heart felt calm. Many years have passed since that time. I am now 25 years old. I live in the same town where I grew up. My life looks different now, but in many ways it feels the same. I finished school. I went to college and studied to become a nurse. I wanted to help people. I wanted to care for others the way my parents cared for me. Now I work at a small clinic. I see people every day, young and old, rich and poor. I try to listen to their pain. I try to be kind like my mother. I try to be strong like my father. I still live close to them. They are older now. My father has gray hair and his hands move slower when he fixes things. My mother walks with care. She takes more rest during the day, but they are still the same in my heart. Every weekend, I visit them. I help with cleaning. I cook their favorite meals. I take my mother to the doctor. I drive my father to the market. We sit together in the evening, drink tea, and talk about simple things, weather, neighbors, funny TV shows. Sometimes we sit in silence, and that silence feels warm. We don't need to talk all the time. We just need to be together. We never spoke much about the day I left. We never talked about the river, the house in the city, or the words I said in anger. My parents never asked me to explain. They never made me feel bad. But in my heart, I always remember. I remember standing in front of that cold house. I remember hearing, "We don't have space." I remember the empty feeling in my chest, and then I remember the warm soup, the soft blanket, the quiet hug that is the part I hold on to. I sometimes think about my birth family. I don't hate them. I don't love them either. I understand now that some people cannot give what they don't have. They didn't have peace. They didn't have kindness. They didn't have space in their hearts. They were a chapter in my life, but not the whole story. My real story is here with Julia and Mark, the parents who stayed, the parents who chose me, the parents who loved me even when I pushed them away. They didn't have to take me in. They didn't have to give me a home, but they did. They gave me birthday parties, school, help, hugs after bad dreams, and a place to feel safe. They gave me laughter on quiet nights and comfort during hard days. I remember once during a storm, I was scared. I was 10 years old. The thunder was loud and I cried in bed. My father came in with a flashlight and a big blanket. He lay next to me and told me silly stories until I fell asleep. I never forgot that night. I remember my mother holding my hand during my first school play. I was nervous. She smiled and said, "Just look at me and you'll be fine." These are the things that built me. Love is not always about who gave you life. Love is about who gives you a home. Love is about who stays even when it's hard, who waits for your message in the night, who sends money without questions, who makes soup when you return with a broken heart. Now I know something very important. Blood does not make someone a parent. Love does, time does, care does. A real parent is someone who wakes up in the middle of the night when you cry, someone who packs your lunch every day, someone who teaches you to ride a bike, someone who forgives you when you hurt them. I hurt my parents that day. I left them without saying thank you. I shouted at them. I made them cry, but they welcomed me back with open arms. They didn't need me to be perfect. They just needed me to come home sometimes at night. I still remember that time. I remember sitting by the river. I remember how close I was to losing everything, but I didn't because two people chose to love me, and that love saved me. I now have a small notebook. Inside it, I write things I feel. I write memories. I write lessons I've learned. One page says, "You don't need to be born into a family to belong in one." Another page says, "Kindness is louder than words." And the last page says, "Even when you feel lost, someone is waiting for you to come home." Sometimes I look in the mirror and think about that scared 13-year-old girl, the girl who ran away to find something she already had. She didn't know it back then, but now she does. She was always loved. She was never alone. She just needed time to see it now. I am stronger. My heart still remembers the pain, but it also remembers the healing. I smile more. I love more. I forgive faster. I don't need to ask why me anymore because I now understand my story was never broken. It just had twists and turns. It had shadows and light. And most of all, it had love Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched your heart, I hope you hold on to this. You are not alone. You are not forgotten somewhere. Someone loves you in a way that is quiet but strong, and sometimes that is enough. This is my story, and I'm proud of it if this story touched your heart. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.